He is again a chartered accountant and practicing financial planner. So we'll start with first.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Disclaimers first. We are quite used to it by this time in the industry. So my disclaimer and the small one is, I represent today in my personal capacity, not as an employee of Client Associates. Fair, honored to share this platform. I see a fairly senior team of IFS out here. How many of you have really heard about family office kind of a concept? Great. So, this is fairly new industry and hardly maybe a 10 or 12-year-old industry in India. Client Associates pioneered this concept in India in 2002. Prior to this, if I try to bring about a global perspective to it, sometime early in the 19th century, if I probably get the dates right, sometime in 1838, we had maybe JP Morgan come up with their own family office, which was known as House of Morgan. Sometime in 1882, we had Rockefellers coming up with their own family office, which probably exists even today. So it's a relatively older concept in the US and European markets. Fairly so because that's where the wealth creation really happened over the last couple of centuries. 20th century is all about India, China, and other Asian markets. So it's likely so that a lot of wealth creation which is happening, a lot of these new practices of wealth management, etc., which is coming up, are in these Asian markets. But let's be fair and honest, India is again a very, very young industry as far as the wealth management is concerned. And private wealth management by itself is a term which is very loosely used in India. Anyone who is probably distributing mutual funds, anyone who is talking about family office, or anyone who is talking about wealth advisory considers himself a private banker. With due respect, there are fine line differences between each of these practices. I'll just try to make maybe a simple distinction between single family office and multi-family office. Now, family office by itself can operate in two platforms: a single family office and a multi-family office. So probably a House of Morgan or Rockefellers are single family offices. To give Indian examples, maybe what Reliance guys have, maybe what Azim Premji has, the Premji Invest. A couple of us might have heard about it in newspapers. Or maybe Catamaran by Mr. Narayan Murthy. These are single family offices. These are predominantly, if I look about maybe the universe in India, top 500, maybe the Nifty or the top 500 BSE or the NSE companies would most likely be ending up having their own family offices, because that's when the focus on control, continuity is so much more important. The level of complexity of their finances are so high that they want to retain all the information and rather hire experts in their own domain and pan out the single family office platform. Multi-family office is when there are family offices or there are private wealth management firms who advise multiple families. The broad approach remains the same, but then you're not advising a single family, but you're advising multiple families. To define family office, not in a very textbook sense, but a family office again is maybe a private wealth management platform where the idea is to advise ultra net worth individuals by retaining focus and control on the overall finances and advising them on entire gamut of services, which could include estate planning, taxation, legal, and not to say wealth management offerings. So, do we have a fair understanding of what family office is and what single family office, multiple family office is? Great. As I mentioned, it's a function of wealth creation, and all has come because of emergence of Asian market on the global wealth platform. If you also understand last 10-15 years, or maybe most importantly, post 2002, 2003, is how we all associate private wealth management industry in India. Now, I have a small experience of only 11 years in the industry now, of which some 6 years spent in a private bank and a foreign bank. Last 5 years with my present company. Sometime in 2003, 2004, we all were probably, the way the entire wealth management industry came up was advisory of wealth management products by banks. most importantly, private banks and foreign banks. That's when the plethora of mutual funds, insurance products, and everything got distributed in the market. To a great extent, it benefited the clients, but to a bad extent, because of hard selling by most of these institutions, it brought a bad name to the industry as well. And today, any client wants to be doubly sure and cautious before getting associated with any advisor for that matter. I hope most of IFAs or most of any advisor today will feel the pain of it. So, families today in India have had mixed experience with traditional models. When I say traditional models of say banks advising them on family, on wealth, or maybe IFAs advising them on wealth, or maybe any other distributor for that matter, advising them on wealth. Because somewhere down the line, probably it started with a fair, with a conscious, with an honest approach of advising families. But down the line, as we filtered in, probably somewhere the lure of making money, somewhere the lure of making brokerage, trickled out that entire thought process. And that's when they probably got carried away into earning more and more of brokerage income, rather than advising clients in a fair and honest manner. And that's the reason we have emergence of disciplines like CFP, which has come up, who try to maybe educate advisors to be fair and transparent to your clients, yet make a living out of your earnings. So, financial planning happens to be the cornerstone to my business, happens to be a cornerstone of rather any advisory platform today which may offer to your clients. Simply because it cannot be a one-off approach that fine, you come to me with a certain corpus and I advise you and my job is done. That's more of a distributor model approach, which cannot be long-lasting beyond a point. So we need to be drawing up a financial plan, like many of our other speakers mentioned today. Financial plan is simply talking about understanding the entire balance sheet of a client. What is it that he has? What are his liabilities? Juxtaposing the existing assets vis-a-vis the liabilities, looking at his aspirations and making sure whether those aspirations can be met or cannot be met, and maybe drawing a roadmap for it. How different a family office could be in this entire approach to conventional models which are operating in India today is, family office is more of a holistic model. It's more of a model wherein you are advisor agnostic. So today, a client who comes to me today, if he's already having the existing wealth being managed through certain set of advisors, who could be IFAs, who could be say bankers, who could be brokerage houses, etc. My idea would be to consolidate the entire picture for him in a single sheet of paper or a single portfolio reporting format. So this is where you stand today. Now the challenge for most of these clients is, today he goes to a bank, the banker finds, wow, he has some X amount in his balance sheet or X amount in his account. So why don't I pitch him an insurance product? Or maybe some fixed deposit which is maturing, which I can channelize to some closed-ended mutual fund, which anyway is the season of the year. Or maybe some other brokerage firm which feels that, oh, he seems to be too aggressive on equity, so why not push him some other equity offering? Now, a family office guy will typically want to make an entire, maybe a single sheet format that's fine across, say, 5 broad asset classes: equity, debt, hybrid, real estate, and alternate. This is where you stand. As per the financial plan, this is where you need to be in terms of your achieving your goals. Is there a mismatch? Is there a variance? Now, if there is a variance, those variances cannot be met on day one. A family office advisor or any advisor for that matter cannot simply tell him, fine, you need to be 40% on debt, you are 60% on debt, so why don't you retain 20% debt and move to equity? It has to happen in a phased manner. That's what the role of a family office advisor is. So his idea would be to make his long-term goals in place, which could be by making those strategic changes in the, say, a model portfolio, or as and when the balance sheet grows. So what we are looking at today, what we are looking at is allocation on a balance sheet of $100. If that 100 becomes 150 tomorrow, you can make sure that 50 additional corpus goes into different asset classes so that he is nearing his model portfolio allocations over a period of time. The challenge which this industry is facing today is limited quality resources. When we interview a good number of people around in the industry today, most of them come with a sales mindset. Unfortunately, I don't blame them, because that's how they have been groomed in the industry, right from their first job, maybe in a banking platform, in a brokerage house. Their only job from day one was to convert this client, generate business, and report to you on day one that how much business you have done for the bank or for the institution. So, having that right mindset is a huge issue today. We had advisors coming in, we have people coming in wherein they used to be bugged in the first 6 months, 8 months, that you're not pushing me good enough to achieve my numbers. We used to simply say him, there's no target as such, wherein you have to kill the customer and maybe stab him on the back, make relationships and then come up with those numbers. If you are good enough to your client, if you are transparent to your client, in any case will generate those extra AUMs for you, which will reflect in your earnings. You really don't have to push for insurance, you really don't have to push him maybe close-ended products. Keep him happy, keep him connected, he'll give more and more AUMs to him. You have to make sure that as a family office, if he has his maybe 80% of his wallet share in non-client associates institutions, why don't you garner those AUMs within the system? So that's how all of us can survive in a true way. Yeah, it's a nascent industry, all of us are learning the tricks of the trade, and it will take maybe another 10-15 years before this industry really flourishes in India. As easy as it may sound, it's actually a very tough exercise. You can relate to it that today, even after being 12 years, as in maybe 12 years of first family office being in India today, we have very few family offices operating out of India. I can count them on fingertips, that's one part of it. Second, and the most challenging part of it is how many of those institutions really offer family office services. Family office simply doesn't mean that you set up a wing saying family office and your thought of process and your approach is the same. For example, not to name any particular institution or any bank per se, but say for example I am an ABC bank. I realize that family office is an evolving industry and the clients are maybe more vocal today as and when the second and third generation entrepreneurs are returning from US and Europe, they're getting educated and more informed on such platforms. Probably I see a huge industry which can be made out of it. So that particular ABC bank says I will open a separate division or a subsidiary which I call ABC Family Office. Now that ABC Family Office, unfortunately, is only by the name of it a family office. End of the day, they operate on the same platform of garnering the AUMs, getting the client by offering the same insurance or other offerings. And end of the day, unfortunately, the business manager of the family office division also has to report his numbers to the country head saying this is what I made in this family office model. That really doesn't work in the long run. So most of these institutions who started with the family office division or subsidiary today have shut shop, or they remain only on paper. A couple of them who are being true and honest to themselves have been able to grow in the industry as well. So it's a long-term approach for sure. It's a painful approach. One needs to be probably well aware of the fact that this is a model, this is an industry wherein the revenues are going to be very wafer thin. So for example, if I am a family office, I have a conscious approach that I will not offer any close-ended funds to my client. I will not offer any NFO to my client. I do not have any in-house products. So a family office model typically is an open architecture structure. It doesn't have any in-house products because that's the only way you can be true and honest to your clients. Today, for example, if you have an HDFC bank or an ICICI bank or any other bank for that matter, say a Kotak bank, who start their own family office or say who have their own division, for example, there's always an inherent push to sell your own products, however good or bad they might be. I'm not simply questioning that. But the moment you are an open architecture fund, your entire idea remains to source the best of solutions from the market and showcase it to your clients. Now, family office does not mean that the advisory or the execution has to go to me from your desk. The client has been honest enough to share his entire balance sheet with you. It could be through multiple advisors and brokers in the industry. Now, many times it so happens that say a particular bank or particular brokerage house or particular IFA has showcased some product to him. The client should simply pass on that product to me or that offering to me and ask me that Abhishek, this is what has come to me from, say, ABC advisor. Does it look good prima facie from a taxation, from various angles? And does it find a merit in a balance sheet? That's when I get back to him saying that yes, this finds a merit, for example, you may very well go and execute that with your particular ABC advisor. And I end up capturing that particular offering in my next reporting format. If it does not make sense to him, I'll simply say this does not make sense to you. Ultimately, the call lies at the client's end. If you still want to go ahead with it, execute it, I'm simply an advisor to him. The one important challenge today in the industry is the regulatory shocks which we all have been seeing since the last 6-7 years. A lot of it because of our own deeds, misdeeds, a lot of it because the regulator becoming more informed and more as and when the industry is growing. So we had entry load bans, we had direct plans coming in, and ours is again a very fledgling industry. Anyone, any IFA for that matter, when you start his own financial advisory model or a family office for that matter, has to have his basket diversified enough or maybe broad enough to be able to absorb that shocks in the industry. It cannot be a purely mutual fund driven model. What tomorrow? I don't know. If there's some communication which comes from SEBI or anyone saying that ban mutual funds, we are jobless. That can't be the model, right? So it has to be diversified enough. It has to maybe advising clients on private equity. And when I say private equity, it does not mean private equity funds of multiples or any other player. Private equity could be having your universe broad enough to make the right connections in the industry that probably this client is wanting to invest in some solar power project. Where can I source the solar power project for him? So it has to be evolved over a period of time. These models can only work through an approach of fee. That's a way, and a disclosure. So you charge a retainer fee from your clients, say that this is the worth of my, well, that's only we are able to mutually coexist. And yes, whatever earnings I make during the year is something I'll disclose to you. That's what we do, and that's why I believe in. In a way, client believes that these guys are being transparent enough. Two, when you know at the end of the year, you have to disclose your earnings to the client. Your conscious effort would be not sell any offering which is higher cost, because that's where he makes a clear understanding. Or let's be honest, that's not the way to approach the subject. CFP's role, I think, is predominantly important in this profession, at least in the profession of family office. So, family office bedrock stands on understanding the financial plan, drawing up of the financial plan of the client. Because unless and until you draw his financial plan or understand his entire balance sheet, you will not be in a position to advise him on his entire balance sheet. How will then you get a feel of where his assets presently are, or where you probably want his assets to grow and to be diversified in a particular manner? Yes, those objectives cannot be achieved on day one. There are many cases even in the industry today where the client will simply probably start with a distributed approach. That fine, I have this X amount of money, why don't you advise where do I park this X amount of money? And then probably slowly and gradually over the next 6 months to 1 year to 1.5 years, I'll open up my balance sheet, and that's when, yeah, fair enough. Our Indian mentality is a pretty conservative mentality. Fair and fine that these guys go slow. So, but financial plan is the most important function. So yeah, that's pretty much. I probably didn't want to structure it in such a manner. That was the problem. Anyway.
Abhishek, in terms of understanding of a CFP and a person who runs a family office, what kind of knowledge does he require to run a family office? Because I feel that he needs to take a lot of decision in terms of keeping dynamics of the market in mind. Like say for example, RBI is supposed to cut the rate now in a near future. So does family office service provider has a role to play here? Because I feel that most of the IFAs are not so well equipped to take this decision and a call, understanding the impact of that decision of RBI or a governing body.
There are a couple of things here. One, a CFP will not really make you prepared to understand the dynamics of the market.
True. Yeah.
CFP is about bringing a process, bringing an approach to wealth management, or bringing an approach to advisory function. As far as understanding the dynamics of RBI or the related stuff is concerned, a CFP or a non-CFP or a chartered accountant or a graduate is equally equipped. It all depends on his intelligence, his understanding, and his deciphering of knowledge from the market. So today, even if a mutual fund person comes to you, say from representing any mutual fund, he's simply communicating his in-house view about his feel about the market. Net, you have to fragment that information and understand, because it's an industry, you always would want to be bullish. You always operate in a buy mode. But then you need to fragment and say, fine, is it really a buy signal which I can give it to my clients, or client specific, I can really say that fine, you need not be in equity at this point in time. So CFP has really no direct relevance to understanding of markets in one sense. It can only make you more prepared and more aware of this discipline and bring a systematic approach to you understanding various things in life.
So if you mean to say that there would be a difference in terms of amount of asset that a family house manage has compared to CFP? Because if a person is managing a asset net worth of say 30 crores and a client walks up to a CFP and says that I want to invest into venture capital, so how equipped? I don't see CFP being equipped to take care of this.
So if I understand it correctly, you're
Yeah.
probably defragmenting the two.
Yeah.
I'm a CFP and I'm a family office employee.
Okay.
So they're not very different.
Okay.
So CFP is only a qualification or maybe a knowledge which you acquire in the process of becoming a successful entrepreneur or successful advisor.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that client is approaching the institution. One of the employees of the institution happens to be a CFP, which only aids the process. So we are talking about CFP education aiding the process to he becoming a successful or a more informed financial advisor.
There are two questions. One is how relevant it is to understand the international laws. It is not only investment laws, it is also the other taxation laws, real estate laws operating in various countries, because most of the family office would have their assets across various markets.
Yeah, so the difference is a single family office today.
And second question is, do you have multiple mandates for the same family? Is it is only one person authorized to take decisions on behalf of the family, or there are multiple mandates?
So to answer the first part, a single family office is relatively more easy. Why? Because say a Premji Invest today have best of lawyers, best of legal advisors, best of tax experts on their own in-house panel to advise them on various matters. A multi-family office really would want to delve into that domain altogether for a simple reason, it's an open architecture. So I'll have a tie-up with various best of legal experts, tax experts in the industry today. If a client comes up with some legal query or tax query or say wanting to drop a bill or a trust planning or estate planning services, I'll simply refer him to that particular domain expert. I would say hands-off approach. I'll connect him with the particular domain expert and make sure that his requirements are met up with. Right? And yeah, sorry, what was the second part?
Second question is about multiple mandates.
Yeah, so Indian markets are pretty complicated markets. US or European markets are pretty sorted out. Over there we have clarity of thought in terms of what people have, what they want to achieve. Over here we have multiple members of the family having different goals. But yes, as an advisor, you need to keep this seed shorted out, saying that these are my macro goals, these are my micro goals, probably across family members. So the macro goal has to be one single goal. Macro goal has to be that yes, he is a conservative investor or an aggressive investor. I need to derive a certain rate of return for him to make his goals sustainable over a period of time. Micro goals then would be that where Graham के डॉक्टर की शादी होनी है, श्याम के बेटे की marriage होनी है, and then those can be defragmented further over a period of time.
Okay, 2 points. Ashay, let me thank you, Abhishek, because we have to complete one more presentation before we take a break, and he is available during the break. So those who have questions, they may not ask during the open session right now, so they can ask during the break. After 2 minutes, we will take a formal break. Before Abhishek move ahead, let me hand over small memento.
Thank you. I always heard about Guru Dakshina. This is the other way around.
आपने जो आके यहाँ पे जो दिया, it is a kind of Guru Dakshina. Okay, so I would like to invite Aishwarya. You can also come here, receive your memento from me.
Thanks, Mr. Kevin sir. Thanks again
It's
for
my
sharing my
pleasure.
platform and
Yeah,
giving me this opportunity.
4 minutes.
My return on investment, which I put in.
You will
Thank you.
always remember. You will never forget. Yes, Alka. Before we go for break, I understand we are close to completing 2 hours, but before we move ahead, we'll complete Mohish Damani's presentation. He's a full-time independent advisor and financial planner. And then we'll take a break for tea for 15 minutes.